Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Flag. I'm your host, Lukas Wacker, and with me, as always, we have Kyle Cushman. And it's been a little bit. It's been 2 weeks since we've done an episode, but we are back for Kansas this upcoming weekend, as well as the United States Grand Prix for Formula One. So an interesting weekend ahead for motorsports as we wind down the seasons for both series, and it's coming close to championship deciding time, specifically for NASCAR. Only 3 weeks remaining in the 2021 season, F1 6 weeks remaining in their season. So lots to get to in today's episode, specifically just our fantasy preview, and then we'll touch on the United States Grand Prix, what we're looking forward to as we are finally in a time zone for an F1 race that is decent for us for the first time in basically over a calendar year. So it's been a long time, and we're looking forward to watching the United States Grand Prix this upcoming weekend. So before we get into all of that, how are you doing today, Kyle?
Yeah, doing good. Definitely excited for this weekend. It is a bit unfortunate about that NASCAR and Formula One overlap, but that's I'll definitely take it to not wake up at 9 or 8 a.m. or whatever it is on a Sunday. I'd like to sleep in a little bit on those Sundays. And it's nice to have that time zone race back. It's the first race in North America in quite a long time. And it's shaping up to be a good one here, just based off of some of the practice times and stuff that we're seeing. It's great to see Formula One come to the United States for the first time since the big Drive to Survive boom. So really looking forward to this weekend. In addition to all the Formula One stuff, we've also got the W Series Championship wrapping up with 2 races on the Saturday and Sunday after the canceled Mexican race for them. So looking forward to this weekend. A lot of good racing coming up. You've got NASCAR stuff with a lot of big races for a lot of big name drivers in both the Cup Series and Xfinity Series when you look at how close the playoff grid is right now. But then you look at Formula One coming up this weekend and also W Series Championship wrapping up. So a lot of good stuff to get to.
Definitely. And let's not waste any time. We're going to jump right into the fantasy preview this week because there's been little to no news to really bring you up to date. Brandon Jones is returning to the 19 car and Joe Gibbs Racing Equipment next season. And that's about all that was announced this week. Of course, we missed a couple weeks of news, but you all know the news by now if you're watching this episode. So there's no point in going and rehashing all of that. So let's get into the Kansas fantasy preview. Of course, the regular season championship season-long championship has been long locked up for Mr. Cushman. We're just doing this for fun at this point. Not to
Are you doing it for fun? I feel like you're doing it because you have to.
Yeah, I feel like it's a requirement at this point. I'm just happy to be here. I'm glad that Kyle is allowing me to be basically on this show still for fantasy because he's whooped my butt this year. It's the overall has grown the past 2 weeks specifically. He whooped my butt at Texas because I did not use Kyle Larson
for some reason.
I'm trying to just save him for a championship
race.
He's
galaxy branding it. Branding.
So I just wanted to try something different, see if something happened to the 5 car, like a similar thing to Vegas or something like that. And maybe I could capitalize on a non-usage for Larson, but of course, Larson dominated the day and is in the championship for well-deserved. Glad he's in there, and I'm glad to see that he's going to get a shot at fighting for the championship, something that the dominant car last season in Kevin Harvick did not get the chance to do. So we're getting that a little bit more this time. Hopefully Denny Hamlin's in there as well, given their regular season-long championship, and then we'll let the 2 fight it out, and whoever joins them as the other 2 spots as well. But for our fantasy lineups here, I lead us off this week with the No Truck Series in action, just the Xfinity and Cup Series. Of course, the ARCA Menard Series is there this weekend as well, with Ty Gibbs looking to wrap up that championship by literally just starting the race. So I'm going to use Kyle Larson this weekend because I have 2 usages left on the 5 car. I'm not going to save him for Martinsville. Here and Phoenix are going to be there, and I know that he's going to be in Phoenix, so he's going to try and get 40 maximum points if he goes out there and wins the race and the championship. So fingers crossed that maybe saving that usage will pay off. If Kyle uses them this weekend, he doesn't have anything for Phoenix. We'll see on that. But for Larson, the past 5 races here at Kansas has been an average finish of 9.6, 2 top 5s, was very close to the victory here in the spring, if not for that late race restart, was right up there in contention with a couple of guys throughout the race. Of course, he's been the dominant car on the 1.5 mile tracks this season, 293 laps led, and then he starts on pole position as well on Sunday. A little bit nervous now that he's locked in. I don't know what they're going to bring to the track this weekend. Maybe it's not their best stuff, but why wouldn't it be? Because it's the final 1.5 mile track of the season. So let's just go out with a bang and see if they can get another one to wrap up the season. They're not going to need this car for the final 2 weeks anyway. So we'll see what Larson brings to the track, but I'm very confident in Larson's abilities, and he's looking to go for 2 for 2 in the round of 8. So the number 5 car is in my lineup.
Yeah, if you didn't use him last time out, then you have to use him right now, to be honest. When you look at the 550 speed, even though there is some more uncertainty, just given that he is locked in to the championship race, you assume that at least Chase Elliott will get the best Hendrick stuff. I don't know what exactly is going to happen with the rest of things there, but Kyle Larson, I'm not going to put him in just yet. I'm going to wait and see how things play out a little bit more, because I do have the one usage left. I'm thinking about saving it for Phoenix, but I also do like the prospects of some other guys to save for Phoenix as well. So I wouldn't be heartbroken if I do go all in on Larson on the 550 track. Somebody that I am going to go all in though right now is Denny Hamlin. Didn't use him last time out. And when I look at his results at this track versus Texas, I like him a lot more at Kansas. And so they've had some really solid 550 speed all season long. We've seen it bump up a little bit more in the playoffs. And when I look at past results for Denny Hamlin at this racetrack, you look at 2019, the playoff race there, and then the first race in 2020 at Kansas, both of those won by Denny Hamlin. You look at the run that they've been on in the playoffs. I like his prospects coming up this weekend. I've got the 2 usages left on him. He's definitely an interesting play at Martinsville, depending on how things play out here in this race. And of course, the championship race, depending if he does make it to that point, or even if he doesn't, to potentially gain stage points. But for Denny Hamlin with 2 usages left, I feel like I got to use him at least for one of these 2 550 races. Kansas is the one that I'm going to go with for this one. Next up, another one that I've got 2 usages left on. I mentioned it with Kyle Larson a little bit. I think he's going to have a great car and a really good shot to win this race, and that's Chase Elliott. 2 usages left for him for myself. Looking at Kansas and then Martinsville for those 2, and kind of seeing how things go for Phoenix potentially, which, given that he won Phoenix last year, is maybe a bit of a riskier play. But Chase Elliott, Hendrick Motorsports, 550 speed. That's kind of the combination that I'm looking at for this one. He's won at this track before. Actually, looking at some of his track results here, really, really strong in the past year at this racetrack. Actually, the most points gained over the last 5 races since 2019 at Kansas, which I was a little bit surprised by. I'm not going to lie. I didn't really realize just how consistently good and how consistently he's been getting those stage points and finishes as well. So for Chase Elliott, I like the combination of the racetrack here. I like the situation that they're in, where they're not so far into like a must-win scenario or anything like that, that they kind of do some weird strategy stuff and things go badly. So I like the track. I like the team. I like the horsepower package, everything like that, shaping up to be a good weekend for Chase Elliott. So I'm going to take the swing on him as well.
Alrighty. I'm using both of those guys in my lineup this weekend. For Hamlin, I've got 3 usages left on him, so I'm going to be playing him here on out.
Wow. Yeah. You saved him last time, right?
I saved him last week at Texas, and that actually paid dividends at the end because of the amount of carnage that he went through at the end of that race. But we'll see what happens with the 11 car this weekend. As you mentioned, Kyle got some good numbers here, and it's going to be a force at the front. I compare this racetrack similarly to Vegas in a lot of ways, with having the multiple grooves. You can run the wall and the bottom, and they both make good lap time. So, and that's the same thing as Vegas. And of course, Denny Hamlin won Las Vegas. So that makes a lot of sense for me to use him here. Over the last 7 races here, average finish of 9.14, 2 victories, 3 top 5s, 275 laps led. He starts 6 on Sunday afternoon, and the 11 car is trying to join Kyle Larson that championship 4. And I wouldn't honestly not be surprised if he does, given their 550 speed and just how consistent he's been throughout these playoffs. And then as well, you mentioned Chase Elliott. I'm going with him as well. 2 usages left, as do you for the 9 car. And yeah, it's a little bit of a risky play when you look at the 3 tracks remaining, but I don't have Chase Elliott in my championship 4, and I don't think he makes it there. So I don't really want to, we'll see what happens with the 9 car, but I think this is a good track for him. Over the last 7 races, got an average finish of 6th, 1 victory, 4 top 5s, 141 laps led. He starts 5th on Sunday. All the things are pointing towards a good, solid Chase Elliott day, as long as they can pass pre-race inspection, which seems to be the hindrance of that 9 car a little bit when they.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't hate it if they don't pass it and then they have a little extra something.
Yeah, but they did that at Texas, and it didn't really pay dividends for them. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword with that. Saying that, though, Kansas is easier to make up track position than Texas, with having actually a second lane to move around.
Yeah, I kind of put Texas in its own box.
Yeah, but still, nonetheless, it is a bit of a deficit to the guys you're racing for those stage points, which, of course, the playoff points don't matter anymore. That's done for whoever wins the stage. It's just about those 10 extra points. You saw that come into play with Kyle Busch last weekend, with him trying to save the fuel, and so with Ryan Blaney. So there's a lot of different things to consider for your lineups this weekend, but I think those three that I have so far are going to be locks in terms of what you have going forward, no matter what your usage situation, because all three excel on this track pretty heavily.
Yeah. So because of that, you've got the same two that I just picked. So it's right back around to me to introduce a couple of new names. A nice little situation you find yourself in right there, because I feel like at least one of these guys, we definitely have the same. I'm not sure about the second, but I feel like you probably do. First off, Kyle Busch. It was a bit of a disappointing performance at Texas, just given their 550 speed all season long. That said, it's still the 550 speed that they've had all season long, and I can't bet against that, especially when he was the one to go out and win at this racetrack earlier this season. Granted, there was a little bit of shenanigans at the end of that race with a lot of different cautions, restarts, and everything like that, but they had the speed to be up there. He excelled on the restarts, and he still got the win. I'm not saying it's not a win. I'm just saying that there were some other people at the front. Okay. But for Kyle Busch this season, 550 speed has been the name of the game. If they're going to make it through to that championship race, path probably comes through this race and having a really strong day, whether that's winning and getting himself into the championship race or having a really strong points day to set himself up for a good position for Martinsville. But for Kyle Busch, 550 speed. How many usages do I got? So I have the one usage left on Kyle Busch, but again, not something I'm super concerned about when I look at the guys I have available for Martinsville and then for Phoenix as well, just given the difference between their 550 speed and their 750 speed this year. So Kyle Busch in my lineup as well, but somebody that I'll be keeping an eye on to potentially garage depending on how things go. The other one, though, I feel pretty strong about. The 550 speed has been kind of up and down for them all season long. They still rank pretty solid inside the top 10 in medium 550 lap time all season long, but I like this racetrack, and they've been quietly kind of consistent all playoff long, and that's Brad Keselowski. They've been really strong at this racetrack in the past. You look at 3 straight top 10 performances with really strong points runs of 51, 47, and 48 points. For Brad Keselowski, if they're going to make it through to the championship race, need to have a really strong Kansas race here. Penske is a bit of a strange team when you think about their 550 speed. They've been a step down compared to the Joe Gibbs and Hendrick cars so far this season and even into the playoffs. But if that's going to change and if something's going to happen there, I feel like it's going to be the combination of Brad Keselowski and Kansas. So I've got him in my lineup as well.
Interesting. Currently, I don't have either of them in my lineup.
Really? Okay. That's a pretty big surprise.
Yeah. I'm going to go for my next pick, William Byron.
Yeah.
I feel really solid about the 24 car. Like this guy has been really solid on the 1.5 miles in the playoffs specifically. When you look at Texas was right there. I think if he got track position, he probably could have held off Larson. He was really close in lap time for a lot of it. Larson may have just had the edge a little bit on long run pace, but short run pace, I think the advantage went to the 24 car last weekend. And I like him even more this weekend at Kansas than I do at Texas. So I think the 24 car is going to be one to be reckoned with. He was arguably the fastest car at Vegas as well. Just had so many different things halter his progress late in that race and just had one setback after the other. It didn't quite work out for him. But imagine how differently this playoffs will be looking right now. If William Byron didn't have those issues and he won that Vegas race, he'd be in this round of 8 right now. And we'll be looking pretty handsome.
That's what I was banking on when I did put him in my championship 4. So yeah,
no, I respect the pick. It just didn't quite work out. A couple of wrong issues and just a couple of miscues and it just went sour for him. But William Byron this weekend, I think he's a potential race win candidate. I really like the 24 car. Over the last 7 races though, it's been up and down with the results here at Kansas. Average finish of 17.57, 1 top 5, 35 laps led. He starts 9th, so one of the highest non-playoff guy in the starting lineup. So it's going to bode well for getting some track position early on and getting some stage points, hopefully. And I expect the Hendrick cars to be really solid this weekend. It just seems like, I think even Alex Bowman, who's got a pretty good track record here, could be in the mix there after a disappointing Texas where he was out basically by lap 40 with that big wreck. So looking for a bit of a bounce back from Hendrick there. across from the rest of the organization, apart from Kyle Larson. And I think William Byron leads that charge this weekend. For my fifth selection, this is a bit of a tough one because I'm in a usage bind with two guys. It's Kyle Busch, right, with one usage. And the thing is, I have him winning the championship. So I have him winning 40 points if he makes it to the championship race. So I think I'm going to leave him out here at Kansas and stack the bonus points here. But the thing is, Ryan Blaney, I want to play at all three of these places, and I only have 2 usages left. So that's my predicament. And I'm going to match you, I think, on Brad Keselowski here to try and conserve a Ryan Blaney usage for the final 2 races of the season right now. I'll see what happens for this last pick, but I will go with Brad Keselowski here as my, is this my last pick? Yes, it is. Right?
This is your 5th pick.
My 5th pick. Okay. Yeah. Brad Keselowski is my 5th pick. Got some good numbers here. Average finish of 7th over the last 7 races. So really solid numbers. I don't know where the speed from this 2 car, the consistency has come from. There was nowhere for 26 races of the season, and they've come into this playoffs a different beast. And it's been encouraging to see that we've basically used more Brad Keselowski usages in the playoffs than we did basically the entire regular season. Yeah. We talked about that consistently where we're like, we have 6 usages left on the 2 car, but why would you use him this weekend? And for good reason. He's only had the victory at Talladega and nothing on the 750 package, nothing on the 550, nothing on road courses. It's just been one of those years for Brad Keselowski. But if he does want to make the championship for it, still an uphill battle with the points deficit. It's going to have to come mightily here at Kansas. And I say that he has a pretty solid day. So I'm going to go with the 2 car here as my 5th overall pick.
Yeah, the Ryan Blaney dilemma is one that I was facing as well. I've got 2 usages left on him and like him at all 3 of these places. And so similar to you and kind of your reasoning, I wanted a Penske car in there. I didn't like Joey Logano just because 550 speed all season long hasn't been there. It was between Keselowski and Blaney for myself. Of course, don't forget that it was Larson and Blaney, the ones that got up and out of the groove on the last restart and fell back. So their points should have been much higher, if not one of the 2 winning the race. But when I look at Penske between Keselowski and Blaney, don't really care about the Keselowski usages. And he's been, as you mentioned, quietly very consistent in these playoffs. A third of his season-long top 10s have come in the playoff races alone. So they've really stepped up their game, and I like the prospects just given the past results there. I'm okay to leave Ryan Blaney on the sidelines, even though I do think he can have a really, really strong day. I am going to match you on William Byron, though. I do really, really like him again this weekend. You mentioned some of the numbers being over his career a little bit lower, but quietly 4 consecutive top 10 finishes for William Byron at Kansas, something that kind of flies under the radar. And when I think about William Byron, their 550 speed, they still rank 2nd season long in terms of median 550 lap time. The only one ahead of them is his teammate Kyle Larson. And so when I look at that, I look at the past results here, I do think that you can have a really, really strong day once again for William Byron and potentially even upset the playoff field, as you mentioned there. So really like the Hendrick power. Can't quite put Kyle Larson in for myself because I do want to save him for that championship race just because of how good he is.
You are going to save him.
So I'm going to go a little bit more conservative for the final pick, but somebody that I honestly think could go out and shock the field as well and go out and win. And that's Tyler Reddick. He's somebody that Kansas kind of fits that style that he has, where you can go to multiple different grooves. You can run right up against the wall and you can find that speed. He back in 2019, he made one of those few starts for Richard Childress Racing at Kansas. And he actually finished in the top 10 at that race. It was his first non-super speedway race in the Cup Series, finished inside the top 10. The 2010, his rookie season, things weren't as good, but earlier this season got a really strong top 10, 41 points, a really strong run. They've been quiet, or I don't even know if it's quietly, honestly, they've been getting a lot of attention for just how good they've been so far this season. And recently on the 550 package and recently with that speed. And so when I look at Reddick, I do think that he's somebody that could go out and surprise when I look at some of those most recent runs. You look at a top 10 last time at Texas, you look at a 6th place at Las Vegas. Those are the two kind of recent examples that we've had of 550 tracks. And so I look at that recent trend. They've been really solid in the top 10 at these tracks. Kansas sets up very well for himself there as well. Obviously somebody I don't need to worry about usages for, and also helps me save usages to use for Martinsville and Phoenix as well, the last two races here. And I honestly think that he could go out and get a top 5 potentially, or even win this race if things break right for them. So Tyler Reddick is going to be my last pick here for my Kansas lineup.
That's a really, really good pick. Really.
Why, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I love that selection, as per usual, it seems, with your picks. I'm usually jealous of your lineups by the end of these shows, and I feel like this one is no different, apart from not having Kyle Larson. Like that, but even then, I still think it's a really good lineup for saving him. My final pick.
So right now, the differences we have, I have Reddick and Busch in my lineup. You have Kyle Larson in an open spot.
Yes, and I would love to go with Reddick, but that's boring. 5 is 6. It's just not the way to go. It's late in the season.
Wow, you've really changed your mind on this, huh?
No, I'm what have I got to lose? What have I got to lose?
I don't know. So I'm very interested to see where you're going for this.
I'm going to go based off of the law of averages, my friend, and it may not suggest that this guy will perform well based off of the season 1.5 mile package. But I'm going to go with track record on this one and previous weekend record at Texas.
I know where you're going.
Kevin Harvick in my lineup. If I'm going to save a usage, this is the guy I'm going to do it with. Yep. I can't use Ryan Blaney. I'm going to put him in the bonus picks. I love him at the next two tracks. Kyle Busch, I'm saving him for Phoenix because I'm full in on that. Whether he's in the championship race or not, he's going to get me points that day, and I think that he's pretty solid at
Sure
Phoenix.
About that? I don't know. If he's not in the championship, I'm not so sure, but
we'll see. But I'm sticking to my guns on this one. I really just want to go with it and just see what happens. I'm confident in my guy's ability. But Kevin Harvick, he's had a up and down playoffs. Let's just be honest.
That's putting it lightly.
It's been one thing after the other with the 4 car and the 9 car. But I'm going to go with Harvick. Over the last 7 races here, average finish of 6.14. So literally just 0.14 worse of an average finish than the best than Chase Elliott in the field. 1 victory, finished second here in the spring. Saying that though, it was due to a tire advantage late in the race. So he did pit. That was a bit of a kind of a gamble that they made late on the going. Didn't really have the speed that they were looking for that day, but they managed to get a top 2 finish. But 4 top 5s for the last 7 races, 353 laps led. So the numbers all suggest that Kevin Harvick would be good there this season, except for his performance on the 1.5 mile tracks and the consistency that's been lacking there over the course of 2021. So I'm cautiously optimistic that they'll bring something good here at Kansas. This is a track that he's always been pretty decent at, and hopefully that they bring a solid package. If they kind of can replicate what they did at Texas last weekend, seemed like early in the going, they had a terrible car, but then they managed to find something and the track position seemed to work out pretty well for them. Let's not forget, this is the race last year that Kevin Harvick should have probably won, but was stuck behind Joey Logano for the last 45 laps. So track position is the name of the game here. And we'll see if the Kevin Harvick car can get some track position late in the going for the sake of my fantasy lineup. So Kevin Harvick,
I really like that pick. I really like that pick. Harvick is somebody that 4 team, as you mentioned, they haven't been themselves, but it's not like they've been bad by any standards. They've just been consistently in that 5th to 10th range rather than the 1st to 3rd range that we kind of expected based off of last season. When I look at the 550 median lap times, they're 10th, 11th, that kind of range in terms of 550 speed, but Harvick has consistently finished better than that. He's been in that kind of 6th, 7th range when you look at 550 tracks this season and has been getting 30 to 35 points pretty consistently on those 550 package races. Yeah. So he's not the kind of super good win candidate like he was last year, or ticking off wins left, right, and center. You kind of have to pick a race where you feel like he's almost like a shoe-in to win something like that to have a good usage. It's a very different situation this year, but it doesn't mean he's a bad fantasy play. If anything, he's been the most consistent one all season long, getting you in the 30 to 40 points every single race. Again, not getting those wins, but getting consistent stage points and finishes. And so for that, I really like that pick because, as you mentioned, fifth place run last time out at Texas. They've kind of quietly had that consistent speed on 550 tracks, and Kansas is a place that he's done really well at in the past. He'd easily go out and get another top 5 run.
Usually Kansas is a place that we've seen traditionally in the past where some of the playoff guys have issues. So I'm kind of banking on that a little bit this weekend. Maybe we have some controversy. Some guys spin out. Well, that's unlikely with this package because nobody.
I was going to say nobody spins.
But maybe there's
some tire trouble. If there is some tire wear stuff, it is Kansas. Definitely. There's a lot of different lines. Like there's a few different things that could come into play for sure.
Yeah, because after Texas, yes, it got hectic at the end there, but for the large majority of that race, nothing really happened to the playoff guys. Yeah. That was, too much.
And to be fair, that is kind of how things usually go with the 550 package. So if anything, we're probably going to see a little bit of that at the end, if anything, of the first Kansas race showed us anything.
Exactly. So that'll do it for our lineups for this weekend. Let's get to the honorable mentions.
Okay.
Kyle Busch, not neither of our lineup. Well, not in my lineup.
He's in my lineup. Thank you very much.
He's in your lineup, but not in mine. Kyle made it perfectly clear why he chose him for this weekend, and it makes a lot of sense. I would pick him if I had 2 usages left, and I don't. So all I will say is I will happily garage him and watch you squirm during Martinsville. That's not fair. The fact that you would wish that on me is painful.
Hey, I just said I wouldn't complain. That's all.
If he finishes top 5 this weekend and enters with any sort of advantage over the cut line, I'm still not going to be like even remotely.
Unless he's like locked in 100%, you're going to be squirming during Martinsville.
Yeah, because Martinsville's such a tricky place, and we've seen him have issues here for the past 2 races. And
there's a lot of good Martinsville guys in the field.
Yeah, and namely a lot of guys that are going to be battling him for that last spot. So if he wants to have a shot at the championship, he's going to need a good Kansas this weekend, and then hopefully have a top 10 run at Martinsville that can save his ass to make it to Phoenix. But we'll see what happens. Ryan Blaney, not in either of our lineups this weekend.
Oh, I wish I could.
But he's going to be a race-winning contender, in my opinion. The numbers are just don't tell the whole story of Ryan Blaney's entire career. I mentioned this when we did the Kansas first preview earlier this season. The results aren't there, but his speed is undeniably good here at Kansas. It's just something that happens late in the going that takes him out of having a top 5 run every single time. I remember back when he had the Wrangler car, the red car, and he was in the top 5, and then he had an issue late, and then that derailed him to like a 20th place finish or something like that. Just not indicative of his performance here. I think this is a really good track for Ryan Blaney. Maybe this is the time he breaks through when he needs it most, when he's at the verge of, at the cusp of making his first championship for maybe the everything comes together for the 12 car. And I hope it does for him, to be honest. He's had a really good season, and I've been very pleased with the performance of that 12 car. So Ryan Blaney is going to be one to watch this weekend. Watch out. And we're saving him for the final 2 races of the season, obviously. Next up, Alex Bowman. The numbers are pretty solid here. This was a big race for him last season in the playoffs. Right. In the top 5 was, and I think he still lost the point to the cutoff line, or gained a point to the cutoff line, just one singular point in this race last year, because it was just so tight. It was just crazy.
It's coming back to me now. Yeah,
it's coming back to you. I know you don't like the playoffs, so it's probably harder for you to remember this stuff. But,
no comment.
But Alex Bowman is someone that could be a playoff spoiler in the top 8. I don't think he's a race winning candidate given the speed that they've had this season, or inconsistent speed that they've had, but see if the 48 car can bounce back this weekend. Tyler Reddick, excellent pick by yourself. I think he's going to be one to watch this weekend. High, wide, and handsome, running up against the wall where he's most comfortable, it seems. And I would not be surprised if he ends up doing similarly what he did for the majority of Texas and be in that top 5, top 6 range, and try and mix it up with the playoff guys throughout. He kind of reminds me of like Kyle Larson back in 2014 a little bit, with his mile-and-a-half performances with that, and just like getting in the mix of it. And, just...
What, you mean a dirt guy slinging it around the high side in a mid-pack car exceeding expectations? No way. That doesn't sound like Kyle Larson at all.
Doesn't sound like a parallel. But yes, the 8 car is going to be good this weekend. Yeah. I guarantee as Charles Barkley would say.
See, now that you said that, I'm expecting him to wreck out on like lap 3.
Maybe that's a play. Maybe that's a play. But final 2 honorable mentions: Christopher Bell, because he has had a good track record here in the past. 550 results this season have been kind of meh.
Another dirt guy.
But we'll see if the 20 car can bring something this weekend. And then Kurt Busch, been really solid on the 1.5 miles, it seems, with speed. Had a decent Texas, had a penalty there that derailed him back and never really regained the full track position that it seemed like he had early on in the race last weekend. But hopefully the one car does something well. Remember, this is the final 3 races for Chip Ganassi Racing now, really coming to the end of it. The final 1.5 mile car. Let's see if they bring something a little extra special for Kansas to go out with maybe a second victory on the season for Kurt Busch this weekend. But for the stay away froms, only 2, and they are both playoff drivers, and it is Joey Logano and Martin Truex Jr. I just can never see a world where I would play both of them this weekend. I'm pretty sure you probably feel very similarly to that.
Truex less so. Truex I could see having a good day, but even still, just given the track, especially that's coming up next weekend, he's not somebody that I really considered all that much.
No, and even if he doesn't make the championship 4, I think I have 2 usages left on the 19 car. I'll probably play him at both tracks remaining after this weekend. I think I've got 2 as well. I can't remember. Let me double check. But obviously, this is the next 2 tracks are tracks that he's won at this season. So you can imagine the 19 cars licking their chops to get to those 2 tracks, and they got to just try and make the most of Kansas because they're almost they're in a must-win territory now after the issue last weekend at Texas. So they're going to rely on Martinsville heavily for that. We'll see if they can reverse the curse. What happened last year when they were set to win that race, it seemed, in the final 30 laps before the flat tire. But the 19 cars playoff hopes to make it to the championship 4 are going to come down to Martinsville, not Kansas, I don't think, this weekend, given their inconsistent 1.5 mile speed. And Joey Logano, self-explanatory, just been nowhere near
any there.
Yeah. You know, and this is not his best track either. So I wouldn't even look at him if they were really even good.
Defending race winner. Yeah.
But it was honestly, fluke win, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think I just can't look at the 22 car seriously. He always seems to have issues here. The blown engine really shocked me last weekend because you never see that nowadays with blown engines with this package, but they were obviously trying to push something. We heard the Xfinity Series for the Roush 8 engines brought an engine package upgrade. I don't know if they did that for the Cup Series as well, but if it did, something went wrong for the 22 car and not for his teammates. So hopefully that doesn't happen for him this weekend, but not feeling confident about either of those guys coming into Kansas. So those are the honorable mentions and stay away froms. Anybody else you would add to the list, Kyle?
I don't think so. Just looking, like Logano over the past Logano over the past 5 Kansas races, the only top 10 he had was that playoff race last year. And so looking outside of that seems like it would be the anomaly. He got the track position. He was able to aero block. That's kind of what he's best at. And so the odds of him being able to do that again, I'd say are pretty slim when you look at the 550 speed that they've had this year as well. And so Martin Truex Jr., he's had 4 straight top 10 runs at Kansas. But again, if you've got 2 usages like both of us have, you look at Martinsville, you look at Phoenix, 2 tracks that he's won at just this season. Exactly. So if you've got the 3, then absolutely play him. But if you've got the 2, I don't really see the benefit to playing him for this race, especially in the position that they're in, where they're kind of already in that must-win scenario. When you look at how the points have gone after Texas there, really like him to be that front runner, really going for the victory at Martinsville. And then either you get him in the championship race and he's going to be one of the top 4 guys, because that's what the championship 4 always are. And so you get those points, or he doesn't get in the championship race and you get the stage points instead. So I'm completely on board with him as definitely a guy that could go out and get the win or something like that if they maybe have a little bit extra, but I definitely wouldn't use him if I've only got the 2 usages, which is a situation that I'm in as well.
Yeah. Martinsville's just going to be nuts next weekend, because you're going to have a lot of guys that are going to go.
There's so many guys I want to use,
right? Like there's like 8 names that you would feel absolutely comfortable with. And that's including some non-playoff guys there next weekend. So I don't know. I think we're going to have like basically identical lineups. It just comes down to whoever kind of loses this weekend and gets first pick or whatever happens. But we'll see. Chaotic Martinsville incoming next weekend. But let's get to the bonus picks. Top Chevrolet. Who goes first for this one?
You do.
I do. Okay. Interesting.
Where are you going for this one?
I'll go all in on Kyle Larson, but I think if I were you, I would go somewhere different. I think that there's opportunity to go with somebody else this weekend. William Byron is one that I'm really looking at heavily for that, but just in case Larson brings the best stuff, I'll go with him.
I'll go with Chase Elliott, the playoff guy for Hendrick Motorsports. Okay. If they're going to have their best stuff, I feel like it'll be Chase Elliott that has that. I still really like Larson this weekend, but just playing kind of the strategy game or trying to I don't know if I'm just galaxy branding it or whatnot, but Chase Elliott, I like the past results at Kansas. I like the situation he's in to get those stage points in addition to going out and getting potentially a victory. So I'll take the swing on Chase Elliott for top Chevrolet. For top Ford, I am going to go with the Ryan Blaney pick. I really like him this weekend. I just couldn't put the usage in just given how the next 2 weekends shape up. But for Ryan Blaney, really like the prospects this weekend, even though the results haven't necessarily been there as much recently at Kansas. I think that's pulled down quite a bit based off of the last restart wreck or incident that he had with Kyle Larson earlier this year. Exactly. So I do really like them this weekend. Ryan Blaney at Kansas with this 550 package. Yeah. I think that they'll be the leading the way for Ford, at least in terms of the most likely to go out and get that victory.
Same here. Not using him this weekend puts me in a position. If I can get some 5 points from him, then I'll do it. It's not going to gain me any ground of basically matching you here, but I just really feel confident that the 12 car is going to be the leading of the Fords this weekend. So going to go with the 12 top Toyota. Since I don't have him in my lineup, I'll go with my standard pick here, Kyle Busch. Okay. I would like to go Denny Hamlin. I think he honestly could win this category this weekend, but I think last weekend's performance was a bit of an anomaly for the 18 because I think honestly not having Ben Bayshore top of the pit box did honestly hurt them with adjustments.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I think that they just weren't able to keep up with the track. And I listened to the Kyle Busch radio every single weekend and they made an adjustment one time and it just never recovered from there. Yeah. So he makes it pretty vocal when that's the case. And I think that having his regular voice atop of the pit box will do him good this weekend. And I'll say that he has a solid run here because he's going to need it if he wants to make it at a shot for a championship at Phoenix in 2 weeks' time.
I'm gonna let's make it a little bit interesting. Usually the bonus picks we have very similar.
Yeah.
I was 50-50 between Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. You took Kyle, so I will go Denny Hamlin for this one. He's won a couple of races at Kansas recently. I really like their 550 speed all season long, especially in the playoffs here. And they're in a situation where after a couple of incidents, they're maybe a little bit more uncomfortable than they maybe thought they were, or at least expecting to be at Kansas. So I'll take a swing on Denny Hamlin for top Toyota.
Yep, that's a good pick. I initially had Hamlin written down, but not going with Kyle Busch.
What's funny is that I originally had Kyle Larson written down for top Chevy and switched it. So there we go.
I love it. We've got very similar minds when it comes to this stuff, but 235.
I was going to say
otherwise though.
Strange how we have similar lineups and yet somehow I've beaten you by like 11 weeks and 200 points. But anyways, you said it, not me. Top manufacturer. This is a bit of a difficult one this weekend. When Kyle Larson, he's got the win. You don't know if they're going to bring the top stuff or something like that. There's a lot of other guys in the field that are intriguing bets as well. I am going to stick with Chevrolet for this one. I really like what Hendrick has and especially the mix of Larson, Elliott, and Byron. So I will take the swing on Chevrolet for top manufacturer here.
Screw it. I'm going to go Toyota.
Wow. He's doing it. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the split. I haven't done a split, I don't think, in like 3 months. I've kind of locked in on the idea of having get 20 or none instead of just getting kind of 10 and be wishy-washy and then maybe you miss both. Like, I don't know. I'm going to go with the split for the first time in a while. So Toyota wins the race for manufacturer. I will go with the organizational pick of Hendrick Motorsports because I think all three of their guys is better than the two at Gibbs. Clearly by numbers, that makes a lot of sense. Numbers. I think Hendrick's going to be the team to beat, but there could be a winning manufacturer that comes out of that Toyota camp if it came down to it. Both guys right above that cutoff line. They may bring an extra juice for the Toyota this weekend. Last mile and a half track could get wild, and maybe that something wild does happen and a non-Chevrolet, non-Kyle Larson car wins for the first time. I feel like he's won almost every weekend this weekend or this year. It's just been one of those years, but when he's running fourth, like you just like, okay, when's he going to get up to first? You know, like he just doesn't run outside of the first or second spot. And it's just remarkable what that 5 car has done this season. So yeah, that'll do it for the bonus picks for the organizations and all that.
Whoa, I got one more. I got one more, sir. I've got organization pick for myself.
Oh, what are you going to go with?
Hendrick Motorsports. Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Sorry. I thought that was a self-explanatory since you went Chevrolet, but
no, it's very fair to make that assumption, but
whatever.
We get to the fun bit now.
Yep. Winner pick. Xfinity Series first.
Yeah.
You go first.
And I get the first pick for this one. What do you think I'm going for this one?
I hope you go Daniel Hamrick.
You bet your ass I'm going with Daniel Hamrick. Back-to-back second place finishes at Kansas in the Xfinity Series for Daniel Hamrick. Really like this track for him. Really like kind of the situation that they're in where they've got kind of a point situation where they don't need to be too concerned about people catching them from behind and stuff like that. They can focus on getting that victory. And I feel like if it's going to happen for Daniel Hamrick, it's going to happen at Kansas here this weekend. When I look at
the story that
when I look at his results in the past, when I look at the speed JGR has, all these things, again, he probably should have gone out and won at Texas if it wasn't for that damn 54 car and old John Hunter Nemechek jumping in. Of course, that same thing could happen again. What is it, Gibbs in it this weekend? Yeah. So it could easily happen with Gibbs going out and getting that victory. But instead, I'll say Daniel Hamrick gets it done for Joe Gibbs Racing. Finally gets that first career victory, which, God, so many people want, except for you.
No,
but you've come around on it. But man, that celebration is going to be unbelievable when it does happen.
Who do you think I'm going with?
Ty Gibbs.
Yep.
Yeah, come on. Of course.
I think it's going to be a carbon copy of what happened last week. I think.
I do too. For being honest,
I think Hamrick finishes second this weekend. I don't know. I really thought that Texas was going to be the place. If I was going to pick one last week, I thought it was all lining up for the 18 car to win it last week. And it clearly was. If it stayed green to the end, he would have won that race. He was second best to the 54 car all day. And it's just that penalty derailed the 54. Caution worked out for him, took the strategy play. I think I'm going to put that a little bit on Dave Rogers for not trying to keep the track position there for the 18, but that's a brilliant call by Chris Gale. That's why I think he's arguably the best crew chief in the Xfinity Series. He's a Cup caliber crew chief that just never really quite worked out with the 20 car for
race winning Cup Series crew chief.
Yeah, he's really, really good. And there's a reason why that 54 car has won 10 races this season. It's not just based off of the talent. He's setting up the cars. Really, really well.
I'd say it's more car than it is, but
But it's been a really impressive feat. They're going to go for 11. Gibbs getting the ARCA race, I think, will help him a little bit this weekend as well. And I'll say the 54 car goes back to back and plays playoff spoiler once again. It's been the story of the Xfinity Series playoffs.
Time out. Playoff spoiler, sure, but they're still literally owners. A playoff car. No, I hate it.
Don't you hate it? I hate that. They don't even like but the thing is they
don't even acknowledge it.
No, they're just like they're just out here to win. There's nothing to do. Actually, hold up, Stevie Letarte.
Even in that, there's literally 2 cars that aren't in the drivers' championship that are in the owners' championship right now. But anyway,
but let's not forget the days when the owners' championship was talked about when Cup Series guys were in there the entire time, right?
Okay, do not put we're not spinning
right.
That. No,
I'm just saying.
No. Is this what it feels like when I spin the playoff stuff on you?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
But I love the owners battle because it's basically the championship I care more about in the Xfinity Series. Because
I wonder what driver is involved to make you feel that way.
Yeah, you could probably take a good guess. But let's get on to the Cup Series.
Winner. Yeah.
I think we take an ultimatum here. I think,
ultimatum. Okay.
Yeah, I think we say no Kyle Larson winner pick this weekend. I think we take the field. I'm not going to take him. You don't take him. And I think we just it's too boring.
This sounds like somebody who didn't want to take Kyle Larson, but doesn't want me to take Kyle Larson, but I will agree to
it. I don't want to take Kyle Larson because I'm going to take a playoff spoiler. I think it's going to be a double weekend with that. William Byron wins at Kansas.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay, he's going non-playoff guy.
Yeah.
Okay. If we're getting spicy, I'll match you on it. I'll go non-playoff as well. I'll say Tyler Reddick gets the victory. How about that? How about that?
Man, 15 points just laying there for us to take. But I love it. I love the swings. Finally, we're getting a little creative with that. Like, I couldn't pick Kyle Busch for all the 1.5-mile tracks for all these. I think I've jinxed them. So I'm going to go with something different here and say that William Byron does it this weekend, because I do think the 24 car is going to be good. Love the Reddick swing though. If you nail
why
it,
not? Why not? I got the
right,
buffer, so you know.
I mean, what's the point in me?
It would be impressive if I lost 230 points at whatever it is at this point.
I don't think that's mathematically possible, really.
Let's see. So the gap is 232. So you need to make up, what is it here? 73 points per race.
So just don't show up for a week or I mean,
I'll take all the Rick Ware cars one week and see if you can do it.
Take it next week at Martinsville.
No, that's the one I want to. That's the one I care about.
Okay, fine. Take Phoenix.
We'll see how. Then if it's a Phoenix, then all you're gonna do is, I won the championship race, because I may or may not have done that this year.
Damn it, you're on to me, man. You're keeping on your toes. But that'll do it for our Kansas fantasy preview this weekend. Looking forward to it. Final thoughts on the NASCAR race before we look at F1 quickly, Kyle.
Yeah, Kansas should be an interesting race. There's a lot of different scenarios for different guys when you look at the point situation that they find themselves in. A lot of race winning capable guys that, knowing how these 550 races have gone, will face some kind of adversity throughout this race. And if the past has shown us anything, if it goes green, then we'll have some kind of aero blocking, difficult to pass kind of situation at the end. And if the other 550 thing happens where we get a bunch of cautions at the end, then it's just going to be pure chaos at the end. We've seen it time and time again at Kansas. So should be a very, very fascinating race that hopefully shapes up for an even better Martinsville race. Because if we're being honest, season long, like it's Daytona 500 and honestly, maybe the Martinsville playoff race. When you talk about like the most anticipated races of the season, Daytona 500, of course, it's the biggest race. It's the season opener, all the stuff. But if you want the drama, the chaos, multiple drivers being in it, lots of different things, Martinsville, man. Martinsville is just so great. And you add in all the playoff drama on top of it. Really hoping that we're shaping up for a really, really fun race at Martinsville. But Kansas first should still be a good race. Yeah,
this is the 1.5-mile track that I have grown to like most, I think.
Yeah,
I've come around
definitely
to
in the conversation for second best 550 track behind, or 1.5 miles, I should say, behind Homestead.
Yeah, I think it's definitely aged well. When they repaved it back in 2012, it was like really dicey, but now it's cured well. And they didn't make any adjustments to the track like Texas did to ruin it. So, everything's bigger in Texas. Well, that was a bigger mistake than I've ever seen, basically, in terms of a track refurb. So, yeah, that'll do it for Kansas. Let's move on to F1. Big weekend. This seems to be Mercedes' stronghold right now, at least through the first practice. And when we're recording this, second practice is underway and Mercedes are still at the top. Couple of guys taking grid penalties this weekend. George Russell is going to take a grid penalty start from the rear. Sebastian Vettel as well. And then Valtteri Bottas is going to take a 5-place grid penalty for a new power unit change. So another one for Bottas this season, but we'll see if he can make it back up to the podium. Seems like the Mercedes has enough pace to do that, but Bottas has struggled in the past when he's trying to get through traffic. So we'll see if that happens again, but it's the championship battle. It's as close as ever. And it's going to come down to whoever wins each weekend, basically from here on out, if there's no issues for these guys each race. And honestly, for all intents and purposes, I hope that there isn't any issues that's going to take somebody out a DNF. And then, we kind of get to a point where it looks a bit like a 20-point gap and you're like, damn, that's unfortunate. I want this to stay within 10 points until the checker flag falls in Abu Dhabi. I don't know about you. I'm sure you feel the same way. I think everybody in the world feels the same way. We want this to come down to the final race, no matter how anticlimactic Abu Dhabi may be. But this has been an intriguing championship battle. Had a week off here since I believe it was Turkey. Yeah, Turkey.
Yes.
And that was a stronghold by Mercedes there. They had that race pretty much covered the entire time with Bottas. Hamilton, of course, having the kind of miscommunication or whatever, trying to stay on the inters the entire race. And that kind of cost him at the end, maybe from getting a couple of extra points, which could be crucial at the end of the day. But Red Bull didn't quite get the win, but they got two cars on the podium in that beautiful white one-off livery. Really like that, but McLaren still takes the edge on the one-off liveries this season. Still love that.
How about Daniel Ricciardo's helmet too? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I posted on NASCAR on TSN Twitter.
Hey, there you go. There you
go. Shout out to Denny Ricciardo. Absolutely loving the character that he's bringing this weekend with the beard and the Southern accent and the interviews. Like, guys go all out. And I think that's what makes the United States Grand Prix one to watch. It's just the American dream, if you will, for a lot of these guys. And just coming over here is just a whole new playground for them. They don't get to experience a lot in North America. So happy to see that it's doing well so far this weekend. It seems like it's going to be, I think it's sold out as well. So great to see that we're getting some fans at the track for F1.
It's going to be a ton.
What are your thoughts coming into this weekend, Kyle? It seems like Mercedes is going to be the car to beat. Hamilton should end up on the top step of the podium here if all things go his way. Verstappen most likely second, or at least on the podium. So your thoughts?
Yeah, exciting to have Formula One back in North America. Mentioned that off the top. It's also fun to see Formula One and NASCAR on the same track in the same season for the first time in what feels like a very, very long time. And so really looking forward to this weekend. Of course, the later start time going to be the afternoon race. Is going to be very different, at least watching just versus I think the latest start time we've had in the past like year and a half is like 11 p.m. Eastern, noon maybe for one of the late races or night races in the Middle East, something like that. I think it was 11 was the latest one that was the start time. But gonna be fun to see it back at Circuit of the Americas. The fan experience and stuff like that is looking awesome. As you mentioned, a lot of the character, but also the on-track product is shaping up to be really, really strong. When you look at Mercedes being at the front again, Bottas having to start a little bit further back. Can he make that recovery? Things like that. And what can Red Bull do to kind of counteract things and kind of keep within distance and maybe take advantage of anything that potentially happens during the race. So I don't think it's going to be as big of a gap potentially as things are looking like in practice times and stuff like that. But I do think Mercedes is going to have the advantage this weekend. But past that, looking like a good weekend potentially for Ferrari. McLaren a little bit further off from Ferrari. So should be a good mid-pack battle as well, and shaping up to be a nice little return to North America here.
Yeah, and the last time we were at COTA across the motorsport series, it was a absolute crazy wet fest for NASCAR. Yeah. So it looks like it's shaping up to be.
I was going to say, if only you could have swapped the weather.
Yeah, exactly. A dry weekend here for F1, which is honestly good. We've had a couple of wet races here recently, and I think we just need to see the pure pace, I think, for the first time in a little bit here.
Well, it also just makes it a nicer fan experience. And when you've got what I think is supposed to be like 300,000 people over the weekend attending, a lot of those probably going to be newer fans when you look at the Drive to Survive success, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Hopefully a nice weather weekend for everybody there attending, and things continue to grow, because again, this is the first I won't say prime time, because prime time is usually your 7 p.m., 8 p.m. slot. But for Formula One, it's your first afternoon race in the North American time zones since the Drive to Survive boom. So we're really going to see for the first time what those kind of viewership numbers are going to be. It's going directly head to head with the start of the NASCAR race. Of course, NASCAR is longer, so you'll get some of the viewership at the end there. But it's going to be fascinating to see what kind of split you have, what numbers Canada gets, what numbers the United States gets in terms of viewership. And this is going to be the first test in a really long time to see what those numbers are actually going to be like.
Yeah, we average, I think, around 300,000 viewers in Canada. For the season so far. So solid number for
really
for the early races. And you expect that to kind of, skyrocket to another tier here this weekend, and at least for the next couple of weekends at Mexico and Brazil, including into that.
3 p.m., 2 p.m. and noon Eastern time starts.
So they're all great.
Really, really strong start times when you look at the primary kind of viewership in North America, because those early start times, the 8, 9, 10 p.m. starts, when those do happen, is essentially appointment viewing. The people that are watching those are people that know what's happening and are waking up to specifically watch that, versus a 3 p.m. start or anything later on.
Might just be on and you want to watch it.
There's the opportunity for a lot more casual viewership. And so that's going to impact things as well. And hopefully we get a nice little Grand Prix as well to mix it in and make it exciting as well.
Definitely. And just one quick note that came out this week, Max Verstappen was voted through the polls as the most popular driver. Lando Norris coming in second, and then Lewis Hamilton in third. So that was, we usually have the most popular driver. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'm sure George Russell and Leclerc will make it up there eventually, but you're definitely not surprised that those three are on the podium spots for fan likeness. So looking forward to this weekend. Let's make some picks, Kyle, to wrap up the episode.
Let's do it.
Best of the rest. I'm going to get this right this time. But who you liking for outside the podium spots here at the United States Grand Prix?
I'm feeling a lot of the same vibes as last time out at Turkey. It's kind of looking like a similar-ish practice kind of time, stuff like that. Of course, as we're recording it, session 2 is going on right now. So we really only have one session to work with. Usually it's practice 2 that you start to get those real times and stuff like that. So a bit more guessing game, but I am kind of feeling a lot of a similar grid to last time out. So I will stick with Charles Leclerc as my best of the rest. I'm liking what I saw from Ferrari in that first practice session. Things have been going well for them as of late, and I like Charles Leclerc to get it done this weekend in the United States.
I'm going to go with his teammate, Carlos Sainz.
Okay.
I feel good about the Ferrari, similarly to you, looking into that practice times. You know how I love to do that. But I don't know. Sainz has got the edge over him in points right now, and I don't think anybody saw that coming.
It's like a half point or something like that?
I think it's like a point and a half. I'm not 100% sure, but it's nonetheless pretty damn solid from Carlos Sainz this
impressive.
Season.
Absolutely.
And just what is it?
It's a half point. It's 116.5 to 116.
Belgium, courtesy of Belgium. What a storyline.
But Sainz 3 podiums to Leclerc's 1.
Yeah, he's just been kind of a little bit of a higher end kind of pick, but then has had some issues sometimes.
Which bodes well for best of the rest.
Yep, Leclerc's been steady, consistent top 7 performances basically the whole season. But Sainz has been able to capitalize on those more crazier races and get up there. Yeah. Of course, Leclerc probably should have arguably a race victory, if not a second, from Monaco, with obviously everything that happened there. But nonetheless, Carlos Sainz has put himself in position here this season to be that guy at Ferrari that has a little bit of an edge, half a point edge over Leclerc. But both guys have definitely had a nice bounce back season in terms of Ferrari's sake from last year. That was just an atrocious one-off year for them. Hopefully that they're even more towards the front next time around.
Should be
next season. They should be. That's going to be a formidable driver lineup there too. I would love to see both of them go for a drivers world championship. Let's get on to the podium places. You went first for best of the rest. I'll go first for this one. And then I'll say that Carlos Sainz does get on the podium here this weekend. I'm going to say Carlos Sainz gets the best of the second Mercedes and the Red Bull, finishing P3 here in Austin, Texas.
Wow, going bold with it. I am not. I'll just give it to you straight because it's pretty straightforward. I'm going with the basic: Hamilton victory, Verstappen second, Bottas third. I'd be a little bit surprised if we got a little bit of that chaos here at Circuit of the Americas, but with that first turn, the kind of very, very unique uphill into a sharp left that it is, I could see something kind of happening there. But I'm going to go the conservative route. And so I'll let you go a little bit crazy with it and have the Ferrari on the podium. I'm going to go basic with it and say it's your classic Ham, Ver, Bot podium.
Okay. Yeah. The most common podium in F1 history. So really going on a limb there, but it's most likely what's going to happen. And then I'm going to match you on the top 2.
Yeah. That's why I got it out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Hamilton and Verstappen, 1 and 2 for them respectively. And it's going to give Hamilton back the championship lead after this weekend if all things go according to plan in terms of the points that way. So it's going to be absolutely insanely close as the season winds down. I kind of hope Hamilton wins it this weekend because I'm anticipating Verstappen to potentially win the next 2 after this, given the car's strengths. And then we go to some unknowns with Qatar and Saudi Arabia. So could be some action there, and then wrapping it up in Abu Dhabi. So any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode here, Kyle? Just overall opinions going into the weekend.
Yeah, I'm so excited for Formula One this weekend, and W Series as well, with the 2 races to wrap up the championship. Should be a good battle there. But especially for Formula One, just having it at that 3 p.m. start time, I'm just excited to have that kind of unique feel to a Formula One race where it is back in North America, where you get that classic afternoon race and get to experience it like most people that watch Formula One do get to experience it, as kind of the way that we usually experience NASCAR, where it's in your mid to later afternoon and you get to enjoy the race there versus kind of always starting your day with Formula One. So it's going to be very different to experience it like that. It's going to be the first time in like a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is.
Weird.
It's going to be very weird to definitely wake up on a race day and not be immediately watching it 3 minutes after you've woken up.
Yes.
But at least for myself, I'm really, really looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, definitely going to have to be managing both screens at the same time, but looking forward to it. Hopefully there's action in both races.
The nice thing about the NASCAR and things that work there is that it should roughly be Formula One wraps up as about the third stage is either starting or a little bit into it. So it should work out pretty well if you do want to catch the good part of the NASCAR race at the end while also watching Formula One.
Or it could be the most frustrating part, depending on what happens.
Okay. Good part is maybe the wrong word. The interesting part.
Okay. Yes. Most anticipated part. Yeah. That's let's see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. Glad we got to get this episode in before the final couple of weeks here. We'll keep you covered up to date. Hopefully we'll have episodes for the remainder of the Cup Series season, but school's been in the way and we've just been busy the past couple of weeks. So bear with us, everybody.
Oh man.
But we're looking forward to wrapping up the season here once again here at the Green Flag. And speaking of at the Green Flag, follow us on Twitter at the Green Flag Pod, as well as Instagram at the Green Flag Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it for the Green Flag returning here after a 2-week hiatus. And all the links to our social channels will be in the description of the video, as well as give NASCAR on TSN a follow for the coverage.
Yeah, do we got any Formula One content this weekend? Yes, no? Do we know on that?
Yes.
Okay.
So the plan is currently, tentatively, this is a bit of a spoiler. I will be doing some sort of promo for it. But for a race recap, specifically for TSN, you may have to check out the old Instagram stories.
Ooh, okay.
But
how about that?
We'll see. We'll see on that. It's to be determined.
Mr. Host going big time on us.
That's why I'm hoping for a bit of an exciting USA Grand Prix to recap. But if it isn't, may have to wait till Mexico, but it will happen eventually.
Try not to make that one like a half hour or anything like that. I think there might be slightly more time limits there.
A little bit more constricted, but I'll try and keep my points quick and to the point for that. But give our social channels a follow, and glad to be back for another episode here. But for this episode, I've been Lukas Wacker. He's been Kyle Cushman, signing off for now. We will hopefully talk to you next week to get you set up for the round of 8 finale for Martinsville in the NASCAR Cup Series. Enjoy the racing at COTA and at Kansas this weekend, everybody.